Hello, my name is Morgana Ray, and I'm a world-famous relationship with money coach. And I love to travel. In fact, for years and years, the whole time I was single, I was saying to the universe that I wanted to travel with the love of my life. And I married the right guy. My husband is a travel genius. Not only that, not only have we been to Azerbaijan and Slovenia and of course Bali and San Marino and Croatia and on and on and on and on. We stay in these amazing hotels. We eat the best feasts. We're wined and we're dined, and it's all free. Who knew? You can travel the world like a millionaire without having to be a millionaire, because my husband has figured it out. He's been doing this for decades, and he's going to share his secrets with you.
Hey everybody, this is Devin, and welcome to our webinar. Before we begin, I want to introduce you to Steve. He is standing inside the pyramids in Egypt. He also sailed the Nile, has been to Petra, just to name a few. Meet Marcia. Marcia is learning how to make traditional dumplings in Taiwan and enjoying a sail in Cabo. This is Eileen hitting the links in Puerto Rico. And these are just a few of Tamara's photos of her trip to the Dominican Republic. What do all these people have in common? Their trips are 100% free. How do I know? I help them get these fantastic trips all over the world. I don't pay for my trips either. Let me explain. For the last 17 years, I've been traveling the world for free. I've taken 80 of these free trips to over 50 countries and have racked up nearly $500,000 worth of free travel. Today, I'm going to teach you how I cracked the code for free travel. I'll show you exactly how to travel the world for free and receive the special perks travel insiders get. By the end of this webinar, you will learn the simple principles I've used for the last 17 years to go from too many hours at a job I hated to waiting worry-free along the beaches of Jamaica. This webinar is primarily for people who want to travel because, well, who doesn't? But if you lead retreats or travel for business, I promise to show you how you can take advantage of this opportunity to offer clients more and to help everyone have more fun traveling. How to see more, meet more people, have better experiences, even if you treat this only as a hobby. Let's face it, without the secrets I'm about to teach you, travel is really expensive. And the expense and confusion of putting together an international trip can make vacations impossible for the people who need them most. You'd have to be a millionaire to travel the way I do if you were paying for it. But I think travel is good for the soul, and it's good for peace on the planet, so I'm going to teach you my tricks. And just so you know, I've spent the last 17 years of my life busting my butt making mistakes, having an amazing time, and learning the secrets you need to know how to travel the world for free. I want this for you. And if you stay until the very end of this webinar, I'll tell you how I've gotten numerous free airline tickets to most any place in the world. Also, and this is important, although we're going to be talking about travel and the travel industry, the information I'm about to give you applies to almost any industry that promotes itself, which is just about all of them. Now, I need your attention, please. Turn off your cell phones, turn off Facebook. If you're a lover of travel and you're serious about knowing how to travel for free, the next 60 to 90 minutes will change your life, just as it did mine. Also, I have a list of questions asked by you. I will try to get to them during our time together, but I will likely get to them at the very end of this call. First, a little bit about me. My name is Devin Galladay. For the last 12 years, I've been the editor-in-chief of In the Know Traveler, a respected online travel magazine featuring articles covering 189 countries from around the world. I also have published 5 other travel sites. For the last 17 years, I've been a freelance travel journalist and have written for publications like the Huffington Post, Technorati, Turkish Airlines, Skylife, and many others. And here's the part that you want to know about. In those 17 years, I have traveled on over 80 free trips to 50 countries around the globe with a value of nearly $500,000 worth of free travel. And I have taught the same principles I'm about to tell you about to others to maximize their experience of travel, and they've gone on dozens more free trips. I have taught the same principles I'm about to tell you about to others to maximize their experience of travel, and they've gone on dozens more free trips. Some of these folks were not writers, photographers, or other professionals that are associated with the travel industry, just like Steve, Marcia, Eileen, and Tamara. I love travel. I've visited 84 countries around the world. How many countries have you been to? Just to give you some perspective, I started with a high school education, absolutely no special talents other than a desire to see the world. Plus, I have now been married for free, I might add, 19 times in 15 countries. Yes, to the same woman, on our personal mission to marry each other 100 times in 100 countries. Why do I do this? The same reason why you are watching now. Travel makes life richer. In 1943, Abraham Maslow created a theory of the 5 stages people go through to get what they want: psychology, safety, belongingness, love, esteem, and self-actualization, with the highest and most important being self-actualization, the achievements of one's full potential through creativity, independence, spontaneity, and a grasp of the real world. This may be why I've been asked hundreds of times how I travel the world for free. Whether it is the challenge, excitement, discovery, experience, or all of the above, people love travel, and there are few things that can gratify you to your core like the experience of travel can. While travel is now my way of life, it wasn't always so easy. I was pretty poor growing up. We were on welfare for a time, and I went through a period of walking door to door looking for food in our neighborhood when I was 6 years old. I wasn't allowed to cross the street, so I just went round and round the block. I don't tell this for you to feel bad for me. I just want you to know where I'm coming from. My first experiences of travel came from the back of my father's 1971 gold Chevy van, the kind that had the bubble window in the back. We were poor, so if we went anywhere, we drove. We bought food at the market and ate in the car, while my father drove trying to make good time. Honestly, it was hot, uncomfortable, and I was miserable, and the idea of cruise ships and airplanes, places we couldn't drive, were for rich people. However, I've learned you don't have to be a millionaire to travel like one. What will life be like when you know how to find the decision makers who put together free trips, and you learn how to find opportunities to travel for free? Let me tell you, you can take the money you would have spent on vacations and spend it on anything you want, while skiing, snorkeling, and staying at world-class resorts for nothing. From my personal experience, I can tell you this is spectacular. I just returned from 12 days in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico with my wife. I love this lifestyle, and you will too. Okay, here's the part where I make a disclaimer. My results are not typical. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll walk you through the system I've been using for the last 17 years to get great results for myself and many others. My results are not typical because the average person who attends any training gets 0 results. This is largely because they don't take any action. I don't want this to become a feel-good moment, a time when you feel like you've learned something incredible and then immediately forget the whole thing. Don't be typical. This said, if you take my actions in my blueprint, you will travel for free. And I'm happy to share with you for free exactly what has worked for me. To be clear, this is not a travel scam. This isn't couch surfing, dumpster diving. You don't have to teach English in Singapore or do anything illegal or unethical. I'm talking about luxury travel, and this is going to be an insider's look into the travel industry. First, I want to tell you why people fail. The number one question I get is, how can I travel like you? Then I tell them the answer. The immediate reaction I get is a list of reasons why they can't. And because of this list of reasons, they can't because they don't do anything at all. Here's a short list of some of the most popular reasons. I'm not a journalist. I don't have credentials. I don't have a website. I don't have the time. I'm too young or I'm too old. Let me just say, these are terrible excuses. I started with none of these credentials. Most of people who succeed start with none of these credentials. Here are the real reasons why people can't. They're unreliable. They are not willing to try. They let fear overtake the action they know will make their lives better. They have no interest in traveling. If this is you, congratulations for being honest with yourself. But you may want to stick with me anyway just for the free airline tickets. Now I'm going to show you my primary principle, which will open doors to free travel without money or credentials. Ready? My primary principle is value equals leverage. If there's only one idea you come away from this webinar, it is your value can get you what you want. This is true in any field. As an example, I want you to hang with me, so I'm going to provide you with value. I'm going to give you fantastic information, and I'm going to show you how I've gotten free airline tickets all over the world. See how it works? Do you like this idea? Are you ready to dive in? Here's what we're going to cover. I will teach you how to use the travel industry to legally and ethically take advantage of all the Travel Insider perks from 5-star accommodations, Michelin star meals, and one-of-a-kind travel experiences. I will show you how to leverage what has worked for me and other people I've trained by utilizing your value so that decision makers will want to offer you trips. I will show you how being prepared with what you can offer can make a difference. And I will give you my top 4 tips and 3 bonus tips to get you traveling now. Here's how I started. Let me tell you about my trip to Iceland. It happened almost 20 years ago. At the time, I told people I was going because I wanted to scream naked on a fjord. True story. I eventually did. Imagine me standing in the cold of northern Iceland. It was not my most flattering moment. However, that's not the real reason I went to Iceland. I went because they were a little weird. Most believed in elves, and maybe the best reason was I needed an adventure and I was drawn there almost by magic. I didn't know it at the time. I went to change my life and I had a credit card. I just needed to go. In fact, before I left, I wrote 170 Icelanders. This was at the beginning of the internet, and I could find Icelanders by doing searches for email addresses that had a .is extension. I wrote them, I don't know you, but I'm coming to your country. Actually, I don't know anyone in your country, but I'm coming anyway, without a clue as to why I'm doing it. I just need to. Still, I'm very excited about it. I went on to tell them that I didn't want anything from them other than a recommendation of their favorite restaurant, museum, park, pub, or anything I should see while exploring Iceland. And I asked them, if nothing else, please wish me good luck in Iceland because I'm really excited about seeing your country. It was this last part I wanted more than anything else. Some sort of okay that traveling to Iceland for no other reason than to explore was acceptable. Then I sent off, one by one, 170 emails to these Icelanders I didn't know. To my surprise, I got only one response. As it turned out, I only needed one. We became friends. Not tight, but friends. I traveled to Iceland, had a great time, and we stayed in touch. What became obvious was that every one of her emails to me included a list of all her fantastic projects and accomplishments. And even though life was good enough for me, I was a little embarrassed to say I didn't have more interesting things going on in my life. She would say, I'm going to publish a book of poetry. And she did. Perform comedy. And she did. Move to another country. And she did. To fight my embarrassment, I wrote a little story and sent it to her. Honestly, it was sort of a I can do stuff too letter. When I wrote that story, it was with the flashing billboard sign in the back of my brain that came from the voice of my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Jones. When I was 8, I remember her handing back an assignment to me, and she said, "You should take a lot of woodshop classes because you're never going to be a writer." I held on to Mrs. Jones' crusty words for too many years. Ironically, my one Icelandic friend wrote back and asked, "Didn't you see the link about the book I'm putting together? The submission deadline is over, but if you can get me something by Thursday," which was just a few days away, "I will make sure it gets seen by the editor. I can't promise anything, though." So I spilled some words on a page and sent her a story, and then I didn't hear back. However, 3 months later, I did hear back from the Italian publisher informing me that my rushed little story was on page 52, and the Dalai Lama's story was on a page 118. The high I felt from that small success was like a drug. I started calling every person I knew. I asked if they knew somebody in the magazine world. Although I did take every woodshop class I could, I still wanted to write. And I wanted to keep traveling. Mrs. Jones be damned. Eventually, I found myself talking to a travel magazine editor who said, "Okay, write me a story." Actually, he said, "I really don't need another writer." I said, "I get that, but if you're ever in a bind, please think of me." He said, "Yeah, I won't be." I said, "I know, but if you ever are in a bind, please think of me." He said again, "I won't be." Of course, but if you ever are in a bind. My persistence paid off. He called me a short time later about writing, and then I immediately started backtracking. "Listen," I told him, "you don't really want me. I mean, there are better writers." I gave him a solid list of reasons why I was the wrong person for the job I had just been begging for. He said, "You know, if I don't like what you write, I'll spruce it up. It's my job." This gave me freedom. It turned out that the story was about the new mummies exhibit at the Bowers Museum in Santa Ana, California. I called up their head of marketing and said, "Hi, I'm interested in writing a story about your new mummies exhibit." He said, "Come on by." And then he said, "Oh, by the way, what magazines are you with?" I was standing in my underwear in front of the coffee table that had Time and Newsweek magazine lying on it. Both were huge magazines at the time. Without even thinking, I said, "I write for Time and Newsweek." It was an absurd lie, and I drove to the Bowers knowing that I had just destroyed my writing career that never started. I also knew I would have to fess up. When I arrived, I was sweating. I met the head of marketing and a couple of his assistants, and I said, "I don't write for anybody. I'm just getting started," as I shook his hand. He laughed. "No problem," he said. "We all start somewhere." I spent hours there interviewing everyone in sight, and then wrote my assignment, which was 125 words, which is almost nothing, barely a good paragraph. Then the article never even got published. About a month later, the travel magazine editor called me up and said, "Do you have a valid passport and can you be on a plane to Mexico on Thursday?" I thought about it for a moment and said, "How much will it cost me?" He chuckled. "Don't worry about that," he said. 3 days later, I found myself walking out of baggage claim in the Cancun airport, and waiting for me was a guy with one of those chauffeur hats that had 3 stars on them. I was taken in a limousine out to Playa del Carmen. It was a 4-star resort that was built into the jungle. When I arrived, I put my rucksack, the kind with all the patches on it from around the world, on the counter, on the reception desk, and told her my name. "Oh, Mr. Galladay," she said, as she looked up and clapped her hands together twice. Several hotel employees lined up. I was given a lei of flowers, a tropical drink, and a cold compress. Then the hotel manager came over and walked me off to the side and said, "Mr. Galladay, anything you want." Anything I want? At this point in my mind, the clouds had parted. Caroling angels began to sing. I got it. Everything made sense. The whole travel industry. I told him I want all the lyrics to Cuando Caliente the Sol and a patch for my backpack that says Mexico on it. He looked at me like I was nuts. But I got the patch and the lyrics before I left the resort, and I learned 2 valuable lessons. First, whether I knew it or not, I symbolized value to them. I was the most important customer in the place, and I would pay exactly $0 for an extraordinary 5-day trip to Mexico. The secret is that you too can travel for free. Since then, I've been on over 80 trips like this to almost every corner of the world. To repeat, when I started offering value, I didn't have any. I wasn't a writer, I wasn't a photographer, I wasn't a videographer. If you have any of those concerns, don't worry. I've developed easy hacks so you can start offering value and get trips right away. So let's talk leverage. Quick story. I was on one of my first assignments in St. Lucia, which is a teeny island in the Caribbean. I had been wandering in downtown Castries when a tiny woman took me by the hand and said, "Shirley thinks you look hungry." She dragged me by the hand down this little corridor where all the kiosks were in Castries and brought me to her little restaurant. There were pots of bubbling ooze, paint was peeling off the walls, and food was splattered on the ceiling. Everything smelled of bananas. Shirley sat me down on a 3-legged stool, and then she piled a platter high for me. Then she plopped the platter down in front of me with a thud. I grabbed a fork and I dug in. And after a few bites, and I don't mind telling you this was the worst meal I've ever had. Maybe it was the humidity or some bad bananas. It was impossible to eat. Of course, it didn't matter. Shirley and I talked. We talked about politics and island life, our families. I stayed there for 3 hours. I felt when I left, I knew more about St. Lucia. I felt like I had made a new friend. And for me, this was the essence of travel. I came home and called my editor. I told him the story about Shirley, her bad bananas, and why I needed to write about her. I told him why writing about Shirley will transform the travel industry, and I was just the person to do it. He said, "That sounds great. I need 800 words about the hotel." It didn't matter. Shirley had inspired me. She made me passionate about travel and its importance. It didn't matter that I knew nothing about websites or how to write or take pictures. It didn't matter because I was sailing full speed ahead. I tell you this story because shortly after I went to one of my very first press events and found myself sitting next to the tourism head of the Philippines. I introduced myself to her and we started talking about my future website. It didn't exist yet, but I was inspired to build it thanks to Shirley. The head of Philippines tourism said we are looking for web exposure. We have a huge tourism event happening next month and we would love for you to come. How soon will your website be ready? Even though the site was not to be ready for 6 months, I begged my web guy just to make it live, ready or not. My flawed, incomplete, unprofessional, storyless website went live, and I went to the Philippines because I had something that the Philippines wanted. This is leverage. And this leads me to my first tip. This requires some work. Not a ton of work. People fail not because the information isn't right. I have never in 17 years heard of anyone who applied what I teach and took some mild action and not get terrific results. Is it going to work with every person every time? No. But if you take consistent action, you will travel for free. It's up to you. Let me explain how it works. As an example, Company A, let's call it a tourism board, has a product. I don't know, let's call it Spain. Spain has tapas, incredible history, flamenco dancing, culture, and a great many things people will love to experience. The tourism board knows everything about Spain, but needs help from professionals to help promote it. Enter Company B. Company B is either a PR firm or a marketing department of Company A. These folks know how to safely present Spain. I say safely because that's what they're going to do. Describe Spain in a safe, generic way. They will do it well. The voice and message they will carry will be carefully crafted. However, there will be something missing. What they're missing in their voice and messaging is you. Why? Large corporations lack authentic and enthusiastic voices of real experience by real people. Moreover, most of us have become immune to the carefully crafted messages from the corporate world. Enter Person C, a real authentic voice. Does this mean that Company A and B want to hear from you and your real voice? Absolutely. Should you call them right now and help them be authentic? Not quite yet. This leads me to tip number 2. Know exactly what you want before calling anyone. The more you ask for, the more value you will likely need to deliver. Don't make it about you, and you don't need to. I've gone to many tourism events and watched others ask for trips based on nothing. It is painful to witness. It is awkward and desperate. Of course, you're saying to yourself, sure, it works for you. You've been doing this forever, but I'm different. I can't have success for the following reasons. I don't have time, money, a website. I don't have connections. Actually, I will show you right now how leverage has worked for me and countless others by utilizing your value that will make decision makers want to offer you trips at all levels of experience and expertise. What do I mean? This leads me to tip number 3, know exactly what you offer. It all starts with defining what you bring to the table, picking an avenue and delivering on your promises to tourism execs. And it is less work than you think, and it needs to be less impressive than you think. Most lovers of travel think that they don't have the time, it's too much work, I don't know how to do it. I'm going to tell you now. The tourism boards want promotions of all kinds. Anything that will make their product look good and be seen by as many people as possible. Did I do this well? No. What I did well was the following. I made a clear offer of what I wanted and what I could deliver. I also knew how to find the decision makers. More on this in a moment. First, we need to know what kinds of value these decision makers want. Remember at the beginning of this webinar, I told you people other than me have gone on spectacular trips around the world? I know this because not only have I gone on these trips, I've also sent people on these fantastic trips. People who have no more experience than you have at this very second, and no more experience than I had when I went on my first trip. There are two basic types of value: your audience and someone else's audience. This means that just because a tourism board likes my site doesn't necessarily mean I need to go on the trip. Someone else can go on my behalf. Just when I started out, I had no audience. I still went on trips, and so can you. So how do I find these decision makers? Okay, stop what you're doing right now and get a pen. Are you ready to write it down? Okay? Google. My friend Rich Gurman gave me this hot, unbelievable advice. Yes, you Google them. You pick a country, state, city, attraction you want to go to, and then Google their tourism board. Then, when you get them on the phone, which I suggest you do, you give them some kind of an elevator pitch. Here's my elevator pitch. Hi, this is Devin Gallaty, the editor-in-chief of In the Know Traveler. We cover 189 countries around the world. We have offered exciting personal stories that promote travel with feature articles, great photography, and video since 2004. It really is easy. However, I know what you just thought. What if I have no value? Welcome tip number 4. Perceived value becomes real when delivered. What this means is that great ideas have value too, especially when nobody else is doing them or doing them well. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, my wife and I started getting married around the world. I said we were getting married 100 times in 100 countries. So far, we are up to 19 weddings in 15 countries. When she and I started putting together a personal trip around the Adriatic, I contacted the tourism boards. I gave them my elevator pitch, and then, almost as an aside, I asked them, do you have a shady glen and a hobo? My wife and I are getting married in your country. Some responses we received were, we don't have hobos here. Or, what's a shady glen? Others said, we love this. We think we have a better idea. Not only did we get tours, food, and hotel rooms, we also got some incredible weddings in Croatia at Park Orsula, married by the mayor of Bled, Slovenia, and we were married in a medieval wedding reenactment where we were knighted in San Marino. It was incredible. So, here's what we've covered. I taught you about how to utilize the travel industry to legally and ethically take advantage of all the perks from 5-star accommodation, Michelin star meals, and one-of-a-kind travel experiences. We do this using the travel industry and providing it value as it has been done since tourism began. I showed you how leverage what has worked for me and countless others by utilizing your value that will make decision makers want to offer you trips. We do this by offering our voice as a real person, which is irreplaceable, and finding our uniqueness to find new ways to be helpful in future partnerships. And I showed you how being prepared with what you can offer can make a huge difference. Have clarity in your elevator pitch and understand what you want and need to make this work for you. As a general rule, start off small, like a restaurant review. How are we doing? We are closing in on the land of free trips. Pretty cool? And yes, we're closing in on how I get free airline tickets. And I have 3 more bonus tips coming up. I hope you've been taking notes. In one word, what have you learned so far? So who's ready for the next level? To start, it isn't just me who's gotten free trips. It has been my writers over the last 12 years at In the Know Traveler. I have sent over 25 unqualified, uncredentialed writers all over the world. As an example, remember Steve? He went to Egypt and Jordan and just recently came back from Antigua, all expenses paid. On a personal level, we need travel. We need more people doing it, and this is why I'm offering you this next step. To be clear, right at this very moment, you have enough information to go travel for free right now. However, there are going to be people who need a little bit more guidance from a pro. So I have designed a program to get you headed in the right direction to exploring the most exciting places on Earth. Can I tell you about it? So here it is. Drum roll, please. It is called Devin's Travel for Free Accelerator, which is all about helping you travel the world for free and receiving the special perks travel insiders get. Do you want to receive all the insider information for your retreats and business travel to earn more profits by paying less for travel and offering clients more in your coaching programs? You should be. Travel is the most important thing that we do to learn about each other and the world around us. And everyone loves travel. But there is a downside. Travel is really expensive. The fear of putting together an international trip can make it impossible to move forward. And if you're not a millionaire, you might not think you've earned it or might not want to spend the kind of money that maybe you can't afford. And people have issues accepting things. How do I know this to be true? Because I speak with interested travelers every day, and this is what they tell me. Let me make it easy for you. Just follow my directions, take my suggested action, and develop your value, and you can see results almost immediately. However, action, even the smallest action, can be hard when you don't know what your value is. Many of you already have value through your blogs, writing, social media, videos, photography, YouTube channels, and countless other fantastic ideas that are waiting to be discovered by the right people. You do not have to wait to be a millionaire in order to travel well and lead a more confident and content life. By the way, this doesn't just work for travel, it works for every industry that promotes itself. I have received books, makeup for my wife, phone and computer chargers, city passes, and admission to special events. It is beyond simple and utilizes the same techniques I use in travel. Here's what you're going to get with the Travel for Free Accelerator program. You get 4 sessions with me, which include 3 modules that will have you on track to leading a better life because we all need a break and more opportunities to travel. This breaks down. Module 1 gets you out ahead of the competition. Here are all the answers to knowing how to approach and develop relationships with decision makers the right way. By the way, bonus tip number 1, don't ask for trips. Let the amateurs do this. Always remember to develop a relationship first. Module 2, it deep dives into giving them what they need so you can get what you want, which is more travel. Module 3 is all about getting you invited back over and over again. I've been to Costa Rica 4 times, and my wife and I are going back this summer. This is all about getting outside the box to your advantage. I'm also offering a live Q&A call. This is a 90-minute live Q&A where I can not only answer all of your questions regarding travel, I can also answer all of your questions regarding websites, promotions, and technology. We will get into the nitty-gritty, and it will go wherever you want the call to go. This is altogether a $2,000 value. Just this alone will give you the information that I use. So when I say $2,000 in value, it really is worth far more than that. If you took one vacation a year using this information just as a hobby, this would be worth far more than $2,000. I also have a Facebook group happening where you can ask me questions ongoing. You will have access to all of my downloadables whenever you need them. This has a value of $135. I'm also including my easy value templates for creating done-for-you content quickly. These templates are exactly what I use and have used to build a variety of content that matters to readers and decision makers. It is valued at $150. I have cut and paste letter templates, the actual letters that I use to send out to my industry contacts. Again, I have made this so easy for you. Just cut and paste, $150 value. Summary notes for each module. Sure, You should take notes, but you're going to have my notes too for each module's presentation. $225 worth of value. Also, you will have access to replays of all of the modules whenever you need them. And I'm giving you my Travel Rockstar checklist so you can cover all of your bases and travel with style and professionalism, a $175 value. This brings us to a total of $2,835. Think of it this way. Most people get paychecks each month or twice a month, and a percentage of that goes towards movies, candy, magazines, Starbucks coffee, going out to dinner, and things like that. I'm not asking that you go into debt for this program at all. What I'm asking you to do is take some of that disposable income that you're going to be spending on movies and going out to dinner and stuff like that. Instead of blowing it on something temporary, I'm suggesting you take and make an investment in yourselves, because the money you put into this is ultimately going to turn into more money for you down the road, so you can live a life you want. In fact, I've been broke at one time during the last 17 years, and I traveled a lot. I did because every time I was out of the country, I wasn't spending a dime. So I saved money and I had fun while I was doing it. And remember, I'm giving you a fantastic travel hack that will show you how I have gotten, I think, at least 15 free tickets around the world. Bottom line, if you only got that one piece, it would still be worth the entire investment. If that's all I gave you, it would still be worth it, but you're going to be getting something even more. The cool thing about money is money always comes back. Every 2 weeks it comes back again. It keeps coming back over and over again, right? We just keep working our regular jobs. Here's bonus tip number 2. Showcase your value early. The sooner you can showcase any new contact how fantastic you are, the better. Always prove to your new contact how they will love working with you by showcasing your work and value. Let me ask you a question. Does that happen with your time too? Or when you miss your family because you're at the office, do you get your time back? No, it doesn't work that way. Sort of odd. Money replenishes every couple weeks, but your time never comes back. Most of us keep getting paid. We have jobs so we can save money and do things that we want with our free time. Mostly what I'm getting at in a personal way is there was a point when I was working in the film industry. I was working on some of the most curious movies you have ever seen. Prophecy 3, Dracula 2000, Texas Rangers. I was working almost 80 hours a week. It was really hard. I had a tiny kid and I was sitting in an edit bay most of my time. Don't get me wrong, the money was good. I was a union guy and I was just moving from film to film with the same crew. And they were great people. But I wasn't having a life. Then a friend asked me if I knew anyone who could swing a hammer. He couldn't pay much. I had just been asked to move on to the next Scream movie, and I took a freelance construction job instead. And while I was doing that, I had my very first story published. As a matter of fact, I got a trip offer to New Zealand while I was standing on the roof of a house on a construction site. I ended up visiting the Wizard of New Zealand. I hung around Wellington and enjoyed Auckland. So you can go figure out how to travel the world for free and receive the special perks Travel Insiders get. However, if you want my help, you can have it. You will know the simple principles I've used for the last 17 years to go from too many hours at a job I hated to waiting and worry-free along the beaches of Jamaica, Cabo, and fantastic resorts all over the world. This program will also help retreat creators and business travelers earn more money, offer clients more opportunities, and help everyone have more fun traveling, seeing more sights, meeting more people, having better experiences, even if you treat this program as a hobby. Think of all the testing, trial and error, and realize that your time will not come back. Your money is going to be back in a couple weeks. It keeps coming back like clockwork. That's how it works. So take some of that money, invest in Devon's Travel for Free Accelerator instead, and then it'll be back in a couple weeks anyway. And I'm going to include some great bonuses. I'm including my Essential Travel Writer's Guide for being a better travel writer with indispensable industry terms to present yourself as a seasoned journalist. And being a travel writer is not required, but for the folks who really want to go that direction, you will have incredible tools at your disposal. This is a $199 value. I'm also bonusing in 68 pages of interviews with the pros, featuring advice from PR execs, tourism professionals, and a travel magazine editor other than me for $250 worth of value. Okay, so we have 3 coaching sessions with Replease. Module 1, stand out from the competition for traveling for free. Module 2 is an effortless content creator. And Module 3 is about getting more trips. You're also going to get a live 90-minute Q&A, and we have a private Facebook group, cut and paste letter templates, easy value creation, module summary notes, travel rockstar checklist. Plus, as a bonus, I'm including 68 pages of industry insider info and my Essential Travel Writer's Guide with glossary. And for the first 10 people who join now, you will also get a 30-minute quick start one-on-one session with me. I will help choose a direction and help you move forward, which is a $150 value because if I'm honest, I charge a lot of money for my time. So you get a total of $3,434 worth of value. And finally, my last thought on why you cannot pass up this incredible opportunity. And here may be the best thing. And this one is not a freebie, it is a negotiation. I will publish your first story, video, interview, or photos. However, they have to be good. My reputation is on the line. So if you put forth even a tiny reasonable amount of effort, you will be published on In the Know Traveler. This means if you already have a great site or access to a great site, you will have another. If you do not have anything right now, I promise to work with you to make it happen. To make clear, this is not a course on travel blogging. You will learn crucial approaches and key understanding about blogging if that's something that you want. But there are tons of travel bloggers who will be spending the little money they have to travel, scrounging around in youth hostels, and will never travel for free. This program is about how to travel for free. I will teach you how to exchange your value for travel. And now for bonus tip number 3. Over-deliver on your promises. When I went on my first trip to the Philippines, I wrote lots of stories and delivered far more than I promised. Because of this, I became memorable and my name spread like wildfire through the Asian tourism markets, which led to trips to Malaysia, Japan, and Thailand. Always over-deliver. Even if you don't have the time right now, you will get the exact tools I have used to see the world for free. So when you're ready, you have the best life possible and you can reach your fullest potential by exploring the world. Then you're ready because my Travel for Free Accelerator program makes you an expert on how I've traveled to over 80 countries. If you want a better life, then it's time to sign up now. Seriously, this is an amazing deal and an amazing opportunity to change your life for the better. Explore your world. Do you know that 70% of Americans do not have a passport? It's tragic, and I want to change that. You can have all of this right now for $347 at the link inthenowtraveler.com/free travel. So you're going to get 3 live group coaching sessions with replays. Module 1, stand out from the competition. Module 2, valuable content creation. Module 3, getting more trips, plus our live 90-minute Q&A, and we have a private Facebook group. My cut and paste letter templates, easy value creator, module summary notes, and my travel rockstar checklist. Plus, as a bonus, I'm including 68 pages of industry insider information and interviews, my Essential Travel Writer's Guide with glossary, and for the first 10 signups, you'll get 30 minutes of one-on-one time with me. In case you haven't figured it out, I think I did almost all the work for you. And for some of you non-tech folks, you'll be getting some help to boost your value with fun but necessary techie stuff. I promise you it's going to be super easy and make you look like a rock star. Look, there's two kinds of people who show up on these webinars. The first one is the timid, nervous guy or gal who gets here and they think it's really cool, it makes sense, they want to do it, but they just don't take action. I don't know about you, but while I really appreciate where everybody's coming from, these folks are not successful as they want to be. The people I like are people like us. They get on this webinar, they hear it, they understand, they step up, and they want to produce, and boom, they come out here and they get results and they make stuff happen. If you are ready to take some massive action in your life, do some cool stuff, and change your life for the better, if you want to join us, get involved right now. Come up and sign up for Devin's Travel for Free Accelerator Program at inthenottraveler.com/free travel. Look, everybody, this is the deal. If you are ready for the special perks Travel Insiders get, and yes, you want to offer more on your retreats and business travel to earn more profits and offer clients more in your coaching programs on your own, I want you to say it right now with me. Say goodbye. Say goodbye to the idea that travel is really expensive. Say goodbye to the fear of putting together a complicated international trip because you bought Devin's Travel for Free Accelerator Program. Right now, you can say goodbye forever to the kinds of things that have been stopping for you. And here is my guarantee. Devin's Travel for Free Accelerator will help you travel the world for free and receive the special perks Travel Insiders get. You will know the simple principles I've used for the last 17 years to go from too many hours at a job I hated to waiting and worry-free along the beaches of Jamaica, Cabo, and countless other resorts and beaches around the world. And yes, you will receive perks for your retreats and business travel to earn more profits and offer clients more intrigue in coaching programs on your own. Without this program, travel is really expensive, and the fear of putting together an international trip can prevent you from going. But, like I said in tip number 1, this will require some work, but not a ton of work. You will have to try and follow my direction. If you do take real action and don't succeed, I'll refund your money for 30 days from purchase. Now, the truth is, I'm nothing special. I personally cannot guarantee you free travel in all cases, and in actuality, travel is really expensive. If you don't follow my plan, the fear of putting together an international trip will be just as tough as it always has been for you. This is why I spent years of trial and error to discover this thing that works super, super easy. And you can either go out and do it the hard way and go figure it out on your own, or just do what I did. Just plug it in. It works. It's awesome. Again, I'm nothing special. I'm just a normal guy just like you. And if I can do it, I promise you can do it. And this 4-week Travel for Free Accelerator Program, 3 modules and a live Q&A is what is going to make it a reality for you. Okay, for those of you who have stuck around, here's how you get your free airline tickets to almost any place in the world, just as I've promised you. Right now, frequent flyer miles offered through credit cards are common. Cards like the Chase Sapphire, which I personally use, offers a 50,000-mile sign-up. Please note, these sign-up bonuses are kind of used to get you hooked into their thing, but really, we'll do it smarter than that. What you do is you just make sure that you pay off your card in full each of the months that you're using the card. And basically what it is you have usually like a 3-month qualifying thing where you have to spend somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000. So in my personal case, what I'll do is I'll just use that card for 3 months on all of my purchases. And I usually spend somewhere between those $2,000 and $5,000 windows of opportunity. And then I just pay off the card as I would any of my normal bills. And so these 50,000 miles can then be turned into one-way tickets to most any place in the world. There are also techniques that people use to take out multiple cards to garner hundreds of thousands of frequent flyer miles. Matter of fact, I have used this exact technique to get 15 free airline tickets international, and I'm about to do it again. A matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who just passed her million-mile mark with, I think, Alaska Airlines. I don't even know how she did it, but It's possible, this isn't like there's a whole industry that is designed to show you. And when we get into the Travel for Free Accelerator program, I'm going to talk more about this and introduce you to some of the real experts in this field that can really show you some fantastic travel hacks for more airline tickets. So, and now let's take some questions. If you don't have any, I'm going to talk about some of the questions that you've asked me previously. And thank you so much for joining us. And let's dive into some more questions. Hey, everybody. I'm hoping you can hear me now. I hope things are good, and I hope you enjoyed that. And I have some questions that I will just dive into. If you throw some more up on the side, if you have any questions about that, definitely let me know. But what I have here, I got from Jeff. Why are you doing this? Teaching people how to get free trips seems like a lot to give up. Honestly, Jeff, I'm not giving up anything. Actually, really what I'm hoping that people do is travel more. This is sort of my soapbox. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but I think the more we know each other, I think the closer the world becomes. And I think we're sort of in an interesting place in humanity right now. And I think that the more people that are promoting travel and a smaller world, the better we all are. Let's see, Lydia asks, I guess I am just waiting to see what the catch is. I've done all the tricks like buying miles, using specific cards, leveraging hotel partner programs. It never ends up being free. That's part because you're trying. Let's see. I'll answer your question in a second, Tom. Let's see what the catch is. Basically, we're not talking about going through partner sites or things like that. I actually think buying miles is a terrible idea. So what I suggest that you do is that you work with the tourism boards and the attraction sites and the local CVBs who do bring people out on the free trips, and they pay for airlines, they pay for the whole kettle of fish. So Tom asks, is this a one-time payment? It is. We might be able to work something out for a multi-payment things. Let's see. Hi, Carol writes, I don't use credit cards. Is there a way to do this without those? You can. Again, I would work with the tourism boards and like organizations, brand names, hotels, things like that. If you come up with a good reason, they will absolutely pay for your airfare. Of course, we dive more into this in the Travel for Free program. Let's see. Joe writes, we just returned from a trip to the Boston area and drove down the coast to Cape Cod, stopped at an amazing local restaurant. Should I write that up as a sample and post it on my blog? Totally, Joe. Absolutely do that. Yes, absolutely get started that way. It's a good thing to do. And then, you know what? Make sure that you get in touch with that restaurant so they can help promote your article and make it a little bit bigger. Let's see, Deborah, this is full of abundance. Yeah, it totally is. More than enough to go around for everyone. I couldn't agree more, Deborah. So to get back to some of the questions, Val writes, is this possible with dependents such as children? Children make it a little bit tougher, but if you are to create value that includes like family, fun, adventure kinds of things, you open up the door for people who provide family travel and family-focused destinations. So yes, it narrows the field, it narrows the playing field a little bit, Val, but it's very possible. Let's see, Aileen writes, are there hidden costs? There's not really hidden costs per se. In other words, if somebody invites you on a trip, they may say, oh, we're not including airfare. Then it's up to you to choose that or not choose that. Like personally, I don't pay for airfare. If it's a place that I'm dying to go to, I have all the saved frequent flyer miles, and then I use those for the trip, but that's only if I'm absolutely dying to go to a place. Like I think I did that with Greenland. So it was a free trip, but I ended up using frequent flyer miles for that. Let's see. Do they usually include your spouse? Less so. Now, that said, I have brought my wife on a number of trips. And it's just, it's kind of happenstance. It really depends on the focus of the trip and the nature of the trip and what they're doing on the trip. But it's, maybe somewhere between 30 to 50%. Let's see. Carol also says, I missed the webinar itself. Was just able to get on. Will you have a replay available? Yes. If you are signed up, then you will get an automatic thing for the future replays for this. So anybody here who only caught part of it will still be able to see the whole show. Let's see. Tom writes, how much advance notice do I need or have, or is it best to be flexible? Yeah, totally. It's best to be flexible in general. If you're working with the tourism boards, they let you, if you're getting a random trip, like in other words, they're just offering, let's say 10 people a press trip, and they want you to be one of the 10, they'll usually give you between 1 and 3 months advance notice. If you want to, if you are putting together your own trip and you're working with a tourism board, then you'll probably have a little bit more opportunity to plan something further in advance, especially if you're sort of like, if you have a job or something like that, and you want to plan something out, let's say in between a 2-week window, you can do that frequently, because I've done that. Let's see. Deborah writes live, do you think living in Canada is a limitation to access to these opportunities? Absolutely not. Actually, Canada has a huge marketplace, for one, and two, I've traveled with Canadian writers 30 times. Moreover, the Canadian marketplace itself, like the tourism boards within Canada, are vibrant. I've traveled to Canada numerous times through hotels and through the tourism boards, and I mean like down to the city level. So it's I would actually recommend that that's something that you do, is explore what Canadian opportunities there are. Star asks, do you need special skills or talents or a proven track record in a specific endeavor? Do these things help? Yeah, they totally do, Star, but I didn't start with anything. I didn't know how to shoot. I didn't know how to use a camera at all. I was not a good writer. You can just ask Mrs. Jones, who said I was a total dud, and that's why I'm so good with wood. So these things help, but again, we're talking about how do you travel for free. So, I mean, I would start with, building a relationship. And of course, the Travel for Free Accelerator does precisely that. So you may want to explore that option. As a matter of fact, let me throw it up here again, just so you can see it. There you go. So, going back to your question, yeah, that's the Travel for Free Accelerator. Louisa asked, what is free? The airline ticket, the hotel, the food? Well, certainly if you get invited on, let's say, a press trip to a larger destination like a country, you will pay for absolutely nothing ever. Everything is 100% included. Brand name hotels will include everything. Destinations like cities will include everything. There will be times, let's say, like if you are working with a tour operator and you say, hey, I want to go on one of your tours, they may end up saying, well, we can't include airline tickets. And then, of course, then you have the ability to say no if that's what you want. Let's see, Tom, if I am offering a seminar, is there much interest for resorts? It's on energy healing. Yes, there is absolutely. Like, I think if you are a coach offering a seminar and you're bringing somebody to their resort, yes, you should absolutely be negotiating that. It will depend on how many people, how you'll be promoting the seminar. Will you be promoting them, the hotel within the confines of your sort of your larger offer of your seminar. Joe writes, I get calls from hotel chains telling me I've won a free weekend because I stayed at their hotel before. I wonder what's the catch, or should I just go with it? It really depends. I mean, I'm pretty experienced in seeing sort of some of these offers. Some of them are nonsense. Some of them are trying to sell, what's that thing where they do? You'll see them like at the hotels in Mexico when you get off the plane. They'll offer you like a free weekend, but you have to listen to their seminar. If they are a brand name hotel, they're not going to do that. They're not going to cause aggravation in your life. The catch is you just have to find out what's at stake. You have to ask questions, and that usually clears it up. Oh, timeshares. Thank you so much, Deborah. It's too much talking. My head is buzzing. So yes, timeshares. I would avoid timeshare types of invitations, but if you have stayed at a hotel a great many times, they will invite you for the free hotel night. They may not be giving you anything else free. So it just might be the hotel night or a couple nights, but they may be charging you for food and room service and everything and Wi-Fi and everything else. Personally, those are things that I avoid. Let's see. Denisa writes, what can I do to travel for free or very cheap? I would like to write about trips to discover new places, even in very known cities and countries. For me, this is the best job. By the way, if you want to be a travel blogger, it's a good job, sort of. That's why I'm kind of focusing on this travel for free element of it, rather than presenting like the great job of being a travel blogger, because you can make it a job for not a lot of money. There's certain things, we'll be talking about that in the Travel for Free Accelerator, but please understand that, you can make this a full-time job, and that's not what I'm hoping that you will accomplish. I want you to travel for free and get the perks while providing value to strategic partners, which is a big difference. Patricia writes, does free travel include free airfare or just hotel? It depends on the situation. It's always hotel and food at the bare minimum. But yes, quite frequently, I've traveled 6 to 10 times a year. That includes everything from the moment that I leave my local airport to the time that I return to that local airport. I'll end up paying for nothing beyond incidentals, things like that. So let's see. Susan writes, I'm interested in somehow combining getting my message to people in countries and connecting with them with healing modalities. This is like the question that Tom had just asked. May health spas, which specialize in natural healing, springs and baths, for instance, people in Germany, Denmark, Austria, London, for example. I read an article that there is an outbreak. She goes into her specific thing. But yes, is it feasible to work with destinations and spas of major hotels and things to actually help promote you or to partner with? Yes, absolutely. A matter of fact, the last press trip that I went on, I was a hotel in Mexico, and this woman who is sort of like, she's like a bodybuilder, and I've never heard of her before, but she's like very popular on Instagram. The hotel, not only did they fly her out there so she could be part of our festivities, but they are partnering with her and paying her to help promote their brand through her audience. Remember, this is all about, in exchange of value. So yes, I think as long as you play it right, you absolutely can. Let's see. Elizabeth writes, how do you travel for free and make money doing this? The money element is a bigger question. That's why I talk about travel for free. Money is going to require a bigger audience. In other words, there's lots of things you can do with smaller audiences, but to leverage where they're actually paying you money is going to be a much larger feat. So you need to be a little bit more established. Can you make money? Totally. Can you travel for free? Yes, with far less than you would where they're actually writing you checks, because it's cheaper for a hotel to trade you a hotel room and food and transportation and things like that than it is to actually write you a check. Let's see. Subani writes, when can I travel? Pretty much whenever you decide, Subani, you can do it. I promise. Kathy, how long is each trip? Usually the shorter trips are somewhere between 2 and 3 days. Those are usually like hotels, things like that. Let's say if you are in the United States and they know that you're in the U.S. and they're taking you to places like on a different continent like Europe, Asia, Africa, you can expect the trip to be somewhere between 10 days and 3 weeks. Matter of fact, I took one where I literally my trip was a 2-day trip to where was it? Birmingham, England. And then I ended up spending another 5 days in London, and then it got piggybacked to a 7-day trip in Scotland, which then got extended into a 10-day trip in Wales. So they can be pretty long. Let's see. Deanna. And remember, when you're putting together your own trip and working with a tourism partner, then you can kind of specify and negotiate with them how long of a trip they will allow, or make it short to make it fit your needs. Deanna writes, oh, and by the way, thank you, Suzanne. My pleasure. I'm glad to help if I can. Deanna writes, how to determine if a place is safe to travel or how to take special precautions regarding political and health situations as an example. All right, so you might be asking the wrong person. I'm a traveler. Like if you stuck me anywhere in the world, I would feel very confident about taking care of myself. That said, you have to be honest with yourself and really decide whether or not you feel comfortable and confident going to a destination. However, you have to remember that the only time travel is breaking news is when they have something terrible to report. So if you're going to hear about, a place, let's say, like the Philippines, it's not because it's an interesting culture and you're going to have a lot of fun. They're going to say the president is crazy and it's really dangerous. I personally would disagree. Matter of fact, I personally interviewed the current president of the Philippines when he was the mayor of Davao City. So that's one of these things that I absolutely think that you consider. You have to decide and define for what you feel comfortable with. I would have no problem going to a country like Iran because they have a great tourism board and they have some interesting things. Let's see. Elizabeth writes, do they fly you first class or business class, or do you have to travel cattle class? When I started, it was almost always business and first class. Now it's much more likely that you're going to be flying cattle class, in part because the airlines, there's so little money in tickets with the airlines now, that, how do I describe it? Everything is overbooked. I mean, we just saw, if you've watched the news lately about what happened on United, everything is overbooked almost all the time, which is a drag. So that means there's very, very few opportunities for first class and business class travel. I have gotten bumped many times. It again, especially if you're working with the airline, they're getting harder and harder to work with. But listen, if I get a free flight to Europe and I get a free 10-day trip where everything is paid for, it's not a bad gig. So I appreciate where you're coming from. The industry over the last 15 years has changed pretty significantly as far as air travel goes, but I still get occasionally bumped, especially if I'm flying a non-American carrier, and especially if I am flying to, like, it's a long haul flight. Like last time I went to South Africa, it was definitely business class, which made the trip much more enjoyable. Let's see. Irene asked, how do you establish contacts? I'm not sure if I understand this question, but yeah, I mean, what you do is you reach out and you develop what you can offer. And if it's something of interest, they will definitely respond to you, sometimes very, very quickly. So that's why it's important to have sort of like, know what you are bringing to the table and make it sound great. Jewel says, what do I have to do? And what is there an age limit? I've had writers. I sent a writer who was 18 years old on a trip. I've had younger people, have the Travel for Free Accelerator program, and B, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable sending somebody younger there, on a trip unless I knew they were able to bring their parents, etc. But yeah, 18 years old. But yeah, if you are a kid, like if you're like young, like 13, 14 years old, and you have a blog that is popular, you could probably swing deals where parents can come, or at least one parent could come to take you on that trip. Yeah, getting bump has become almost expected. This just has to do with the nature, and I would argue it's mostly with the U.S. carriers, or more lower budget. Like almost all of the U.S. Airlines are all sort of like have become like budget carriers. Like if you were to fly Turkish Airways, Emirates, Cathay Pacific, they all have sort of like a higher brand of clientele. You're not going to see this sort of like overpacking of people. It kind of sucks. So as a matter of fact, I avoid flying U.S. carriers wherever possible. Let's see. Holly writes, how to travel first class whenever I'd like. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Now, once you arrive at a destination, I can promise you that the tourism boards do not want you to have a bad experience. So you're not going to be staying in a 1-star hotel. You are not going to be, if you eat on the side of the road, it's going to be really good food that has been sort of like properly vetted. So you're going to have first class experience, but probably not the airline. Probably not. It still happens, but it's a probably not. Let's see. Win writes, what the best time? When is the best time for budget travel? I don't focus on budget travel. That's stuff that, again, that's kind of like standard blogger types of programs. I don't worry about, I'm not here to do budget travel. I'm 50. I don't do budget travel. Let's see. Jewel writes, what about the other end of the age scales? 50s, 60s, doesn't matter. Absolutely not. My very first, matter of fact, when I was talking about my trip to, where was it? To Castries, to St. Lucia, the first night of that arrival where we stayed, it was actually, I was checking out the Three Sandals resorts. I was seated next to an octogenarian travel writer. So, and she'd been to every country in the world twice over. And yeah, anytime you travel, you're almost invariably going to be seeing people that are going to be in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and sometimes 80s. It's a very normal, regular kind of thing. Let's see. And I'm 50, so you're going to see me perhaps. Kira writes, how to get free flights and free food. I think we kind of covered that one. It's your best bet is to go through the tourism boards. Rachel says, will I be paying for anything out of pocket? She says, i.e. taxes or other expenditures. It's never been a tax issue on my end. I wouldn't even know, precisely how much things cost to declare or not declare. Let's see, out of pocket. Thank you so much, Joe. Yes, I try to take care of myself, but sometimes I feel my age. Out of pocket things are going to be incidentals largely, or if you want to do something that goes outside of what the press trip might cover, like if in general, any trip that you go on will be a negotiated thing unless it's a standard press trip. A standard press trip means they're inviting you and 10 other people or 4 other people or 20 other people, and they're covering everything from the moment that you arrive to the moment that you leave. all covered. Out-of-pocket things will be your toothbrush. If you forget to pack pants, you're going to have to buy your own pants. Although I've seen a hotel dress people, who've forgotten or have lost luggage and things like that. But it's mostly like if you want to pay for souvenirs and trinkets and personal things, your deodorant you will be paying for on your own. But again, this is, it's part of life. It's an imperfect thing. Lydia writes, does free travel mean inconvenient multi-stop flights and low-budget hotels? No, it doesn't. Matter of fact, sometimes they may route you through, like I remember going to Puerto Rico a few years ago, and they were basically launching a flight from Boston to Puerto Rico. So I, being in Los Angeles, was routed through Logan Airport in Boston because they wanted me to comment on that flight, which I did. So was it a little bit out of my way? Yeah, it was. But in general, no, they actually want you to feel great about everything. So it's never low budget airlines or low budget hotels. Sometimes, however, like if you go into a very far-flung destination, like in Thailand, I went along the Andaman coast. They don't have 5-star hotels there. I think they're best hotels. Like you will stay at the best hotel that they have available to them. And if you go to places like Central America, where, or some places in the Caribbean where they may not have big resorts, you probably stay in what they have, the best thing that's possible. Does it help to live near an international airport? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I know travel writers all over the world. And I mean, I personally live near LAX, so that's good for me. But I know travel writers all over the world in small towns all over. So it really depends on how much the plane ticket costs and what the tourism board is looking to get out of the deal. In other words, if they're targeting a section of the United States that has fewer international airports, then they will already have budgeted in the understanding that they are bringing in a certain group of people from other things. Tom, how often do you find cruises? Well, I can tell you that the tourism boards work with the cruise lines, and the cruise lines, most of these cruise lines like Carnival are huge corporations. So I guarantee you they have giant marketing departments of people. I personally get seasick, so I'm not big on cruises overall. But yeah, can you score a deal with a cruise line? Totally. Do I know people who have gone on river cruises? Actually, my wife and I are interested in doing something during the summer. So I will start exploring more of the cruise sorts of things. But that said, just by the way, I take Dramamine, and I've been on every fantastic kind of boat in the world. Like the America's Cup racers, all kinds of things. So I will make sure to have my fantastic experience when they come offered to me. Let's see. Stacy writes, how do you still pay your bills and afford to travel too? How do you know what things will cost you when you get there? Again, for the most part, my days of buying a bunch of trinkets and sending them home from a press trip are kind of over. I kind of have all the cute, fun things that I want and need. How do I pay for my life? Well, fortunately, I've geared my life to allow for lots of travel because it is an absolute passion of mine. Again, I'm giving you these secrets and all these tips in order to inspire you to travel more. Whether you join my Travel for Free Accelerator, you go off and do your own thing, or you just travel more, thumbs up. I think we need it in this world. I think it's an important thing. And by the way, there have been points during when I've had my websites where I just wasn't making enough money. And because I'm good with wood shop things, I have built fences and done all kinds of things like that. And I still do it once in a while. Not very often. I actually just built a gate in my mother's driveway because it's my mother. Let's see. Isabel writes, is there a limit to how much free travel you may enjoy, or is it limitless? It really is limitless. I mean, if you want to, I mean, I know people that are gone 3 weeks out of every single month. They're just going, 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 going. Does this mean travel writing, couch surfing, or WWOOF? Okay, so travel writing, yes, that would probably fall into it. Couch surfing, absolutely never. I don't do it. I don't recommend it. I mean, I think if that's what you want to do for fun travel, or if you want to do Airbnb, stuff like that. I mean, my wife will do Airbnb and stuff like that. But in general, oh, and the WWOOF, I believe that's like staying, where you stay for free and work on an organic farm, or you do voluntourism where you're actually working. Again, the Travel for Free Accelerator is all about not working, or working as little as possible to have something fantastic. Let's see, Sylvia. Oh, Tom's already signed up. Thank you, Tom. I'm looking forward to working with you in the near future. Let's see. So yeah, I think voluntourism is wonderful. I think working on an organic farm is wonderful and altruistic. And if it's right for you, then do it. It's not part of this kind of program, not because it's a bad thing, but because it's not, for me, free travel. I'm not looking to sign you up so you're working 40 or 50 hours additional a week. What I'm looking to do is telling you exactly what I did to get free travel, like what's the minimum kinds of things that you do. And that's what I'm looking to create, and at least let you know that there's opportunities out there for you to have a wonderful life and travel a lot more. And I think this is my last question. Sylvia writes, how can you travel with security and some degree of comfort for free? Well, hopefully I've described all of that. I think when you're talking about security, you are talking about certain destinations. Like, I'll give you an example. I've been to El Salvador through different tourism functions, like 4 different times. And they're very serious about making sure you feel safe. Now, for us, if you see a bunch of armed guards, you may feel uncomfortable. So I would suggest that, there are certain places you just have to use common sense. Like, I'm fine traveling to a place like El Salvador. They took care of me. I mean, they had like armed guards with us to the point of almost ridiculous. I never felt unsafe, but that's because I really feel comfortable traveling as a whole. So you have to kind of define the level of security that you need. But again, most first world countries are going to be safer. I also, I live outside of Los Angeles. There are places I can go in Los Angeles right now that are unsafe, where I probably would not feel comfortable or possible. Well, that's not true for me personally, but there are places you can go that are going to be less safe than more safe in a place like Los Angeles or Chicago or Atlanta or any major city in the US. There's going to be sort of like a component where anything can happen, and that's true of travel. But by and large, the tourism industry has really gotten good at having tourist police, having more police in areas that are sort of like specific to tourism destinations. You'll see a lot more police people just roaming around, making sure that you're safe, or to answer questions in case there's a problem. Okay, so Elizabeth wrote, I also missed the actual program and look forward to the replay. I figure that writing is a big part of this, and this will work for me. Just a question, is there room for copywriters? I'm not a copywriter per se. So I can't really say specifically, but my question is there room for somebody who is willing to help promote a travel and tourism destination? The answer is absolutely yes. If you are already comfortable and or competent in writing your experience, I think that's great. You will find, and this is just sort of like an across the board topic, is that there are different styles of writing within travel writing. Like, if you can go to lots of travel blogs and read terrible writing. Like, I started off being not a great writer, when probably about 6 years ago, I went back to school and I ended up getting a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree in writing. That's what I did. And so now I've become a pretty competent writer. But that's not how I started off. I started off by telling the truth and writing about interesting things that interest me. And I found that there was a lot of other people who were interested in the kinds of stories that I was presenting. So as a copywriter, Elizabeth, can you write stories that would be interesting to other people and help promote travel that would make you valuable to tourism boards and hotel brands and all that kind of stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely, Elizabeth. So I think that's it. I think we went really long. We went almost an hour and a half. So thank you for those of you who hung around. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to know. Anything to offer. Yeah, this is it. intheknowtraveler.com/free travel. We'd love to have you a part of our group. I think if there's any other questions, I'm looking forward to working with you guys in the future. And if not, really, many blessings, happy travel, go out and see the world, explore. And I wish you guys, and I'm going to turn this and turn my face back on just so you can see that I'm a live person. And I want to thank you guys for being here. And I hopefully will see you guys in the future. Happy travels. And I will talk to you again soon. Thank you all. And you will get information about the replays in the near future. All right. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.